Anyways, maybe Elizabeth Simpkins has the answer. She's the regional underwriter, inland marine transportation at Travelers. Elizabeth, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
You don't have a magpie or a I believe that was an English bulldog, wasn't it?
I do not. Well, I have a part bulldog, pit bull rather, and I have a parakeet, but that's not quite the same.
No, not quite. Well, I mean, relatively close. We could make it work. Well, welcome back to the show. Before we dive into our topic today, tell us a little bit about what you get into over there at Travelers.
Sure. So day to day, I work with underwriters on a technical level with their transportation accounts, and I work with our transportation clients on their coverage and service product needs. But also work with our underwriters and do training and development with our teams so that they know anything and everything they need to know to get out and sell us and work with our customers.
You know, as consumers, our wallets are crying. Anytime we go and buy something, especially that Walmart self-checkout, not only do we don't get a paycheck from Walmart, but we also get a big old receipt. But what is happening with inflation in transportation, right? I mean, these goods cost more money because a lot of times they cost more money to produce or to get there because your money is worth less. But that directly impacts transportation. What are we seeing there?
Yeah, so inflation is everywhere, right? We can't avoid it. And with regard to transportation, no surprise, the values of the commodities are going up, the values of the loads are going up, and that means with claims, you're going to see a higher claim cost if something happens. So we're seeing higher excess scenarios because of that. And you have to ask yourself, what can you do as a broker? What can you do as a carrier? And the first thing you do is evaluate your limits. Do you have enough? Do you know what they are? And what you had a couple of years ago might not be sufficient for what you might find today in a claim situation. So rule one, understand your limits.
Oh, Elizabeth. Guys, can you bring her audio back up? Did we lose Elizabeth's audio? Elizabeth?
Can you hear me?
There we go. Yeah, I hear you now. Well, we were talking, and I heard a good part. You were talking about limits on claims. Can we drill deeper into that a little bit? Because I need a little bit of context. I'm not familiar with what like an average limit should be. When you say put limits on here, what would a typical scenario be?
Yeah, so typically we would see a motor carrier around $100,000 per vehicle. That's not a regulatory mandate. That's really kind of a ballpark minimum. And 80% of the trucking companies you see might have about $100,000 limit requirements. Maybe 20% have something more. And that's really a traveler's average profile. It's not an industry source. But when you think about theft losses and kind of compare that to the value, 2019, pre-pandemic, your loss of a theft might have been $135,000. Going to vary a little bit based on commodity, but now you're looking at values over $214,000 per loss and up. So that's, kind of leads you into rule number two is, you have to know what you're moving, you have to know what you're brokering and what that's worth. And sometimes the motor carrier insurance requirements, even though they might only say you need to have $100,000 in a contract, for instance, retail values could be a whole lot more than that. So if you know that what you're moving is more than that, you might need to revisit some limits, talk to your carrier, talk to your insurance agent and get something higher to protect yourself. Another good time to reassess limits, kind of aside from inflation, is when you maybe begin working with a new shipper or a new commodity. They might have something higher that they require you to carry, and you might need to sign a new contract saying you carry a higher limit of insurance. So that would be something else to watch out for. And the other point I'll make is for freight brokers specifically. If you are a broker and you realize the freight that you're going to broker is more than that $100,000 example I gave, you need to be looking for a carrier that might be able to obtain a higher limit for that load or has something larger than $100,000 to begin with. If that happens often for you as a freight broker, it might make more sense to amend your broker carrier agreement even to require something higher than $100,000.
Wow. So one thing we've noticed with inflation is that it's hitting goods asymmetrically. Not everything is being hit the same and not everything's seeing the same increases. So let's go a little deeper on this. What type of cargo is particularly vulnerable to inflation these days?
I would say food for sure. People got to eat, so demand is always going to be there. The thing that's been in the news a lot lately is eggs. We've seen the price of that just really go crazy. And what's right around the corner for many people to celebrate is Easter. So people are going to feel that. I'll add to that, losses due to refrigeration have been up in value too. So you can definitely feel that impact there. Another commodity you might see that's prone to inflation is electronics. And some of that's being driven because shortages in different parts of the industry for electronic products. They're just a victim of supply and demand economics, really. But beyond commodities, even when you talk about inflation as it relates to transportation, it touches other things. You're going to have higher loss costs, of course, if something happens. And, we've seen that the cost of an overall claim has gone up on average about 6%. So that's one thing. But you've got to think about maintenance of your fleet as well. So the cost of towing, the cost of repairing, all of that's going up. And frequency of collision losses is up too. So that doesn't help. That can affect tractor trailer costs. And that'll have an effect on your insurance rates and your deductibles and things that you put in place for your programs. So it's got a widespread effect. We don't really see it going away anytime soon, unfortunately. You might see some leveling out, but retailers tend to try to keep those profit margins up. So I don't know that these higher costs are really going to go away anytime soon.
Yeah, man. You're deeper in this space than I am. Anything else we should be aware of?
Yeah, I guess bringing it back to basics for everybody, just knowing what you're moving, you're hauling, you're brokering, whatever it is you're doing in the space, know what limits you have, know when you might need to make a change if you see that you don't have enough, and be mindful of that, reaching out to make sure that you're protected, and give travelers a call if you need us.
Yeah, right. And I think if I understood this correctly, understand your limits and be aware of what load or loads you're moving. In summation, thank you so much for joining us today, Elizabeth. We really appreciate it. Have a great weekend, everyone. Go check out Travelers.
Thanks. Take care.
Take it easy.